right.
Tony, thank you. And folks, welcome to Phoenix Business Exchange, Bell's Corners edition on this fine June 3rd. Welcome to June, and it's a sunny day out there. Quick reminder to all our Phoenix members, please send your stats to Tony. Welcome, Sam. Send your stats to Tony for last month's activity. What you spent money on and other members. You don't have to spell out the exact details, but we're looking for the aggregate totals. And you'll understand that pretty soon. I'm going to share a screen so you can see what's happening on the Phoenix website. And if you are looking in on this and you want to come in, you'll find some, go to www.pbex.ca. And what's happening is, right now I'm just trying to minimize the screen behind me here. And that way I can still see what's going on. There we go. You should see the Phoenix website. And hey, member of the week, Wendy Chung, a realtor from the East Edition group. And if you're looking to come into our session here, just click on Monday morning, 8 a.m. to 9. We're every Monday morning. Save the odd weekend here and there, or the odd week here and there during holidays. Takes you straight in on Zoom. Wednesday morning, same deal. Thursday morning, same deal. So top of the day, June 4th, 7 p.m. after hours group meeting. That's tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. Anybody from Phoenix is welcome. It's about accountability, setting that up. And if you're interested in the East Trade Winds, come visit me again on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Different setup. It's using the Meeten platform, MEETN. And then we have Tuning In with Tony and meditation on Fridays at 1:30 to 2:30 on June 7th and 14th. And then we have Penny Lee. He's got NIA classes, the moving to heel, so just gets your body moving around, which is good. You're sitting too much. June 5th, East End meeting, 7:30, and that is at Biggs, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Tony? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's near off of Saint Laurent and Ogilvie area.
Yes.
QR directory for all members and QR directory booklet. So if you're trying to find somebody, or you're trying to refer somebody, you're looking for somebody like Wendy Chung, Lana, or Mike, Sam, yet Shane, who's going to be presenting today. You want to figure out how to get your body all fixed up and perfect again, and moving and being limber, you'll find Shane in that space. And just if you look over to the right, we've done $84,000 worth of referrals year to date. And so that's even before the May stats have come in. Okay. So $84,500 worth of transactions, 4.6 million since 2016. E-cards. Yeah, you're wondering what's that all about? Well, that is a quick way to connect with people as part of the QR code directory. And it's a good way just to share your information, share any of the videos you want to do, all in one fell swoop. It reduces the friction of connecting with clients and them connecting with you. And hang on, we've just got someone else coming in through the door here, and here comes Josh. And we also have a golf tournament coming up, and I think Mike's going to be chatting us up about that. And it's going to be about Make-A-Wish, and that'll be up and coming. And I'm going to stop sharing because you know what? Who wants to see all that? And we just want to see the faces. So here we go. Folks, we have we have a minute of coaching, and that'll be from Mike. Mike, over to you, sir.
Great. Thanks, Bernie. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Nice to see you, Steve. Hope you enjoy the session. Want to talk to you about respect and reciprocation. I sent out an email to everybody, and basically it said that I've been in networking clubs for at least over 30 years. And in those years, with many different types of leaders and founders and organizations, I've never seen somebody that's more dedicated than Tony as far as what he does for his membership, how he cares and how he loves his members. And this is the time where I think I'm going to make a call to action and have all the Phoenix members come out to and ask them to come out to our August 1st, Thursday, August the 1st golf tournament out at the Canadian. And we've had mixers and mingles before, but I think this is an essential to really show Tony our respect that we have for him and to reciprocate by coming out, making an effort. I mean, first of all, it's only 9 holes, 2.5 hours on the golf course. Some golfers might go, I don't know how to golf, or I'm not sure golfing, or what have you. This is about coming out and making a great mix and mingler and a summer get together for the Phoenix group. So, whether you golf or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're in a power cart. There's 2 food stations. You drive around in nature, camaraderie with your fellow golfers. You make a couple of putts, you do a couple of chips or whatever. You have a cocktail or two, and it's fun. And basically, at the end of the day, is if we're looking to have 72 golfers with the Phoenix membership, just over 30 members. That would essentially mean that everybody should come out and hopefully bring a friend. There's other ideas and contingencies that we have to bring in golfers. Like if you know of a company, ask them, do you guys do like a summer retreat or things like that? Talk to the HR person in that company, because they're the ones that have to set up all these like outdoor picnics or what have you for their company. Tell them, you know what, join the Phoenix Business Exchange golf tournament. $111 a person or what have you. They maybe bring out 20 people. They have their own little kind of team building get together camaraderie session within the session of the Phoenix group. That'll help us sell out, because what happens if we don't sell out, whatever we don't sell out costs Phoenix money. They got the golf tournament kitty, and we have to pull out money from that to make up those golfers that are not missing. So a big call to action, and basically bottom line, it's not about golf. It's not about the mixer. It's not about this. It's about Tony. It's about showing Tony the respect from the years of dedication that he has given Phoenix for all the hard work that he does. Every type of initiative he researches or he applies it to, installs it into Phoenix or whatever, all for the greater good of our well-being. So let's take a look at Tony's well-being, because to him in his heart, I would know he would be just filled with joy if we can have a full event and lots of sponsorships. And the sponsorships go to Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish serves children with life-threatening or terminal illnesses, and and they receive their wish. So I mean, how beautiful is that? We make Tony happy, we make a wish child happy, and we'll feel good in our hearts that we reciprocate it back to Tony that gives so much to us.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to post into the LinkedIn live chat or live post. That is the link to that post, so you can put your contact details in there and all your promotional pieces. And we'll start off going around robin. Hey, what's been going on the last week or two? Who you been having a business activity meeting? Bam. Or referrals? Lana, you're up, and then we're going to go to Josh. Lana, over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's been a very busy week business-wise. I don't think I've had any bans or anything, but I wanted to point out something to everybody here, and that's cleanliness. And you might think, what is she talking about? I'm talking about your house. And whether you're going to look at a house or sell a house, you never know, or you don't know how clean that house is. It might look clean on the outside, but for heaven's sakes, guys, wear socks in the house. I'm not kidding. And because right now we're into sandals, right? We're into sandals, and especially women. I know guys do it too. And, wearing the flip-flops around. Oh, let's take a look at this house. And you're taking your bare feet off, and your feet may not be that clean either. And you're walking around somebody else's house. You don't know what's been on that floor before you've been on that floor. So something to consider, even when you're going to a friend's place, is wear something else on your feet, because cleanliness, I won't say it's next to godliness, but mom might say that, right? Anyway, my name is Lana Burnley. I am the realtor of this group. Been a realtor for now 24 years in Ottawa, and it never ceases to amaze me the surprises that people bring up. And cleanliness is always one of them, and has always been one of them.
Wow. Lana, thank you. Josh, over to you, and then Mike.
Folks, I'm Josh Lamb from Sterling Grace Tech. We're your one-stop shop for all of your IT needs, whether it be tech support or software development, and that includes website development. We service Eastern Ontario and basically the whole world if you want to go that far. We have some American clients too. And yeah, so I can't, I'm not sure that I had any BAMs in the last week. So I guess I'll schedule something for the next week. One thing that we did look at last week was a client had a hacked website. And so this was a realtor website, actually. So Lana, if you've got website problems, we've got some experience solving those. We had a hacker attack them and insert code into their site so that they would redirect sometimes only if you weren't logged in as an admin. So the realtor is always logged in as an admin on their site and they didn't notice, but their customers were, or their friends or potential clients were calling them up or emailing them and saying, here's a screen cap of what happens when I go to your website. And so we went in and it took a little bit of digging and we were able to trace it down and to kill the hack and to seal the hole so that the hackers, we have logs that they kept attacking in the following days after this patch was fixed, but they were not able to get in. And yeah, that was our success story for them for this past week. So if you have a website that keeps getting hacked or a friend with a website who keeps getting hacked, or you need a new website, or you need a website strategy so that somebody sees it other than your mom, then give us a call and we'll figure out how to take that tech cost and turn it into making you money instead. I'm Josh Lamb at Sterling Grace Tech. Call us. Absolutely. Thanks. Bye.
Josh, thank you. Mike, and then Sam. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Bernie. Yeah, great infomercial, Josh. So morning, Mike here from MW Motivational Life Coaching. And as a professional life coach, I have created Ironclad. My concept, the biggest challenge is escalating anxiety. So through my coaching approaches, I'm able to support and motivate these individuals to turn their anxiety into adrenaline. And so what's different about me compared to a lot of life coaches? Well, I've taken over 300 formal hours of coaching, so it wasn't a weekend on the internet for a certificate. And this was from an individual that is at a master level coach, which is one of very few in Canada. So I was blessed in all those years to take that training through him. And we're still good friends today, and we actually coach each other. So today, good referral are individuals that, well, you know, that might be struggling to overcome their thoughts and their emotions for their well-being. Introduce my services. Motivated by results.
Any BAMs or referrals?
Let's see. I did, but Penny Lee, we had a really good session last Thursday at the lounge again. It was some really good information there, and that was passed and shared. So it was nice to chat with those people face to face.
Perfect. Mike, thank you so much. Sam, and then Tony.
Thank you, Bernie. Good morning, everyone. Sam Sturz, connectedcars.ca. There's my contact information in the chat. What happened to Steven? He disappeared. Anyway, maybe he'll come back.
His internet died in his building. The whole place is out right now. He's got no power.
Oh,
No,
that's
Wow, it's
it was-
amazing
it was
what we
bad.
do.
It was Josh's infomercial that turned him off. So I'm leaving.
Blew him away.
I was going to welcome him to the group. Anyway, maybe he'll come back. Let's see. Sam Sturz, as you guys know, dash cameras are my main thing. I also do minor repairs, oil changes, brake jobs, ball joints, all kinds of interesting little things that can go wrong with your vehicle. I enjoy working on cars, and I actually do detailing too. In fact, my BAMs, Bernie visited me last week. First did a brake job on his wife's vehicle, and then he treated her, the sweetheart that he is, he's treated her to a car detailing job by me. So she was thrilled when she picked up her vehicle, and I'm sure Bernie had a good weekend. Anyway,
That's what it takes.
what did I say? Anyway, other things gone on. dash cameras were a big thing last week. I attended a meeting there at the River Lounge, and Eric Garland said that his dash camera wasn't working. And I took 5 minutes, went out and replugged in his dash camera and got it working for him. 5 minutes and got things going. And former Phoenix member Harvey Hope was here last week. He had purchased a dash camera on his own that I installed, and it had stopped working, and the power source had gone out. And I installed a new one for him and sent him on his way, the happy camper that he is. That's it for me, Sam Sturz, ConnectedCars.ca. Today's mobile electronics without the cost of a new vehicle, and a heck of a lot more.
Sam, thank you so much. Tony, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bernie. Hi, everybody. Tony Jennis from Higher Self. I'm the spirit guy of the group. I work with energy always. It's amazing that Lana had brought up the cleanliness because she must be psychic or something. There are some very energetic reasons why sometimes we have various things going on in our life, and it has to do with cleanliness. The example that she gave were the floors. If your floors are dirty, that means that affects your money. If you look at the root chakra, it is our ability to draw in funds. And when your floors are dirty, like if you can't walk with white socks throughout the whole house and it's still white at the end, that it does affect your money. It also, you need to clean the stove. Because the stove and the floors are connected to resources. Now, that could be inheritances and other forms. It's not always just money. It could be, you're walking into a place like Sam would, a $1,200 snowblower. He'll pick it up for $600, and it's the last one. It's those savings that you'll get more often. And by the way, Sam's house is impeccably clean, so that's why he does so well. If you have clarity issues, if there's some things that you got brain fog or whatever, clean your windows. All right. Because the windows are the eyes of the home. And what does that mean? It means that what you're seeing out there, and if it's full of grime and grit and so on, those are the same connections where you can't really see much. And if you can't see much, what happens? You get more uncertain, you get more doubtful, you're not looking forward to the future, because the outside is sort of your future, because you're not outside, you're inside. So clean your windows, inside and outside, and that brings in that clarity. If you have emotional things going on, all right, there's a few of them, but emotional are connected to anything to do with water in your home. And the best way to remember that is when you're emotional, you cry, you break down. So your house is crying. Dishwashers, faucets, make sure they're working. The toilet, if it keeps running all the time, okay, that's also a money issue too. Anything to do with the water heater. Some people have the, the on-demand water thing. And if you have an issue with that, it means there's things going on emotionally with you or with somebody within the household. So when you keep these things running and you keep the floors clean and everything is just impeccable, that is huge when it comes to feeling like you're centered and feeling like you can really move on. Tony Jennis from Higher Self, where we are here to raise your spirits.
Tony, thank you so much. And so for myself, I connect businesses, and I've just posted some contact details in the chat. A little bit about East Trade Winds, a little bit about the Property Wizard podcast, about real estate investment, understanding the pieces, the components of it, and the Knack for Business podcast. And that is about talking about people's journeys. And so what do we do? At Creative, we end up connecting people. We're kind of a concierge of services that bring folks together. And one of the elements is, hey, look, there we go again. There's that golf tournament stuff, just sneaking right back into the conversation in the chat. And, you'll see that on the LinkedIn page, register, go on into that space. You got questions, reach out to Mike or myself or Tony. I'm more than glad to fill the gaps and give you some information about what's involved, either just to have a good game or be a sponsor. It starts off at $100 and it works its way up. It's all about supporting a good charity, a worthwhile cause. Now, I've done a lot of chatting here now, and I'm going to swing over to Mr. Shane Bayless, who's going to do a presentation. And Shane, are you available and ready to go, sir?
Hello.
Hey, there he is.
Hi, guys. So, looks like my comrade who was supposed to be helping me out with this had some internet issues and things like that. So, he messaged me going, everything's out here. So, I will do this
Thanks for that
basically
energy.
on my own a little bit here. But basically, it's about one of my good friends, Steve Halmicki here. So, he's a guy that I met in, I gotta move out of these people who are talking around here. And go upstairs. Anyways, so he's a good friend of mine. He's a strength trainer, one of the best that I've ever had work with me. So as you guys probably know, my background is in hockey and doing sports and that type of thing. I have been on many good hockey teams and things like that. And I played in the NCAAs. I played junior hockey. I was drafted by the OHL 67s, the local team here, and everything else. So I've been through enough physical training, physical aspects, and all of them were really good, right? It's not like I didn't see improvements. I got stronger, all that other stuff about, performance wise. I felt a little bit quicker, but nothing that like I was like, oh, this training's way different than another training or anything like that. Now I went back to school to go to after I was done with my Niagara University after 4 years. And as everyone knows, when you get into competitive sports or actually even the competitive arena from, business aspect, there's a lot of politics that go on. Not just the best person wins and gets the job. And that's why I always laugh when people are like, oh, that guy treats the Ottawa Senators. He must be the best. No, he has the best group of friends that knows the best people. That's how things work around, right? Yes, he might be very good after time and experience, but it's not always the best just because they are with a team or the highest profile people. So always remember, what are you actually getting when you go to these places? As in, what type of treatment are you getting, and does your treatment fit your diagnosis? That's the big thing. Anyways, off that tangent a little bit. So going to this thing, and I was basically finished school as in, finished my hockey at Niagara University, and I was still itching to play, but at the same time, I was like, I'm done with the politics. So I went back and I went to chiropractic school because I wanted to do kind of medicine work, and that one seemed to fit my persona, my energy the best. So I went and I did that. And about 3 years in, my cousin had played in the AHL, and he was still with an agent and everything else. And I still had a good representation. That's not a good rapport kind of thing, and a good thing. So anyways, I wanted to go back and play. So I talked to him and I started training again, and I met Steve at a local event, and we started talking about just strength training. We talked about like chiropractic. We also talked about different things from physical concussion work, rehabilitation, that type of thing. And we kind of hit it off, and he's like, yeah, well, why don't you do some training? I'll show you what I kind of do. And I said, sure, I'm in the middle of it, because mostly I was basically playing at the local rinks, playing against higher competitive players, going on the ice, doing my own training. I was doing some CrossFit stuff because that's what I had been changing into. And then I went and saw Steve. And Steve was, he was kind of working out of his own, at that time, his own like house and garage and stuff like that. But he had trained many people already before here. If anybody knows who Chad Kelly is, he's the number one quarterback right now in the CFL. And he's the nephew of Jim Kelly, who's the quarterback that used to be for the Bills that lost the 4 Super Bowls. Anyway, so he trained him, and he did really well in Ole Miss. And if everyone knows Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, Eli Manning's the one that went to Ole Miss, and he's broken a lot of his records. So he's quite a good quarterback. He didn't make the NFL probably because of size-wise and things like that. But at the same time, he is one of the best in the Canadian Football League now. So I went and I trained with him, and it wasn't exhaustive training by means. And what I'm saying is, everyone feels that when you train, you have to hurt for 2 days afterwards. That's not true. You don't need to hurt for 2 days afterwards or feel like this really big burn that I can't walk the next day. Unfortunately, our professionals and athletes and the competitive ones, we feel that way just because that's what we've been brought up to, right? You got to have, pain to make the gain, that type of thing. So I went and I started doing training, and he did a lot of kind of like circuit training, but just hitting the whole body at the same time, but very quickly. And it was about perfect technique and a lot of like shock method treatments, which is basically means shock is doing like a light and a heavy. So you do it light, perfect with great speed, and then you go a heavy. So when you're doing a light and heavy, your body kind of accumulates, kind of like a warm up, but at the same time, you get that fast twitch muscle going so that you can do it faster with heavier weight and doing perfect form. Now, a lot of people, think about strength training, especially in the summertime when they do like off season stuff. And I am talking a lot about sports, but this applies to almost anyone. And there was a Senators once, and I remember hearing about them and saying, you're not allowed to go see Tony Greco or go to Greco. And the reason why was because they push envelopes by just increasing weight, more weight. The goal of your summer prep is to get stronger. And I know Sam knows this about his son too. It's to get stronger so that in the year you start losing some of that body mass, that muscle mass, because you're training so much that you don't have time to maintain that. And if you do try to maintain it, it's almost like overtraining and you almost become weaker. So it's a very complicated event. It's not something you can really just do overnight and not know anything about. It's not about pumping more. You need deconditioning phases as well as, improving things like that. So, it's like tapering, if people know about, bodybuilding and stuff like that too. So it's really important to have those right phases in at the right times. So when people do that, the Senators guy was doing the Greco and they ended up getting injured because they just kept putting, I want you to jump now with like 500 pounds in your back. No, you don't do that. You blow out and injury people. So a lot of times when people are trying to strength train, they end up injuring themselves, especially in the off season. And that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be maintaining those gains. And Steve's amount of injuries is like zero. Like he doesn't have injuries in the off season with kids or athletes or NFL players, all that stuff. He's really, really good. He's always asking the players about, what do you feel right now? Is there any pain with any of that exercise? So obviously, there is that thing of that they're telling the truth at the same time, but he's always asking that. We've shared a hockey player recently that's he's going to go play for Connecticut University, and he was basically having a low back injury, and we did some rehab with him, going on what makes it feel better, what doesn't make it feel better, how much can we push, but at the same time, we want to do it within realms. So when I trained with Steve, the big thing about me was I was never a quick player. I was kind of average speed and average strength. I was not knocking people over. I had okay stability in my skates, but it wasn't like if someone came and, hit me, they would just fall over. Now, when I was going to play in the AHL for the tryouts, there was a lot of players that had been playing for 3 years. They're bigger than me. They were younger than I was. And so a lot of their stability and strength was, supposed to be better. But when I went out there after the training, I felt my legs were really that going. I don't know if you guys ever felt that, if you're runners or anything else, where it's like, I just feel like I want to run. My legs have so much energy. They're explosive. They're doing this. And you have that kind of feeling. This was repetitive. It wasn't just a one shot off the day that I had this. I had this repetitively when I was on the ice and stuff. And I was like, this is incredible. Because I was like faster, with that, because I could keep going. It wasn't the first 3 strides I was fast, and then I started getting tired. Because a lot of players get tired in like the second half of the games, if that's hockey, soccer, football, because they're burnt out because they don't have explosive endurance. They have explosiveness, but then they burn out because the VO2 max is separate from a quick explosiveness. That if you want fast twitch muscle, usually you have a worse VO2. If you have a really good VO2, you usually have a worse explosiveness because they work differently, slow twitch versus fast twitch. But having that in overall. Now, if anyone knows who Ben Johnson is, he was one of the, the greatest Canadian Olympic sprinters, but he also had that, he was in the realm of the steroid era where everyone was doing steroids, and he was the one that ended up getting caught and doing that. But one of his problems was he could get to 50 meters at top speed, probably faster than most runners, but he couldn't finish the race. He didn't keep accelerating. So if you watch Carl Lewis, he was always accelerating. So he would catch people in the last 25 meters rather than slowing down and losing the race. So that's very important. And that's what this training to me was like. It was like, already I'm at my 10th gear, but wait, I got an 11th gear. I got a 12th gear. Right. So it was going through that, and I was just more stable on the ice. Like people were trying to hit me and I was like knocking people down. I was like, wow, like I felt really great on the ice. Unfortunately, I discovered this a little bit later in my career where it would be very helpful maybe after I was doing that. Cause like I said, it's about the opportunity that you have and making sure you're with the right people and going and, getting past some of the politics and staying injury free is so big for athletes these days, because a lot of great players don't make it just because they can't stay healthy enough. If you can't stay healthy, there's no team that wants you. And I think that's where the concussion realm is like, if I don't play today, I'm going to lose it to the next guy coming through. And that's why there's a lot of guys out there that will play through concussions, will play through injuries, just so that they keep their opportunity and their chance alive and can make it to that next level. Because we all know how many guys actually make it to that next level, and how many of those guys are prosperous, as in they're the top, the elite. So it's a great thing. Now, Steve not only has this type of training in the background, he has dealt with Parkinson's, people with prosthetics, people that have cancer, all that stuff. He's not just an athlete, because he's noticed too that, you know what, there are other people that need his help, that value what he does more than that. Because unfortunately with athletes, there's a lot of them that go, oh, I want to see a person of the high caliber, but once they find the next best person or the next best training, they end up forgetting about the others that have brought them up to that level. And unfortunately, it's the real world. But the people that care about what they're doing sometimes is the everyday activity, the weekend warriors, the people that just want to get past, maybe those people in the wheelchair or whatever, that, people aren't taking them serious, or that, they want to work and become just as performance advanced as the next guy. So he does work with a lot of that. He's also done courses in Johns Hopkins. He's done it at Stanford, University of Pennsylvania, done nutrition. He's helped with chief coordinator with developing the curriculum, as well as he has a thesis on which I forget the name of it. They always have these long words for theses and stuff like that. But anyways, he's put basically all of his stuff into formulas, which isn't just like, oh, this makes you go faster. He's got it from, force versus power, which is all physics and stuff like that too. He's a really knowledgeable guy. And the problem is sometimes when he talks at a higher level than a lot of people do, just because he's been around it so much, and he knows the ins and outs of equations and algorithms and stuff like that he's used for his training. Now, he uses a lot of shock treatment, which is basically from Russian shock, which is Vershansky, who has basically sample sizes of that. He might not be PhD approved, but the amount of people that he has in the books that have been written about it is intense. They have that. He also has a Russian Sistema, which is the Russian like KGB. They use a lot of breath work and distributing of forces. So not blocking forces, but redistributing it. So kind of like jiu-jitsu, where people are always using someone else to use their body weight to throw. They don't use their own just strength. They're using energy that's being manipulated to use in combat, kind of thing. So distributing forces, which is the same thing we're trying to do with concussions. When someone hits you, how do we not absorb the force, but push it away from us so that we're not absorbing those types of impacts that can make our heads worse? So those are really big things. He's also worked with the military. So the military, he's done, he was basically told to create a program that helped with decreasing non-impact training injuries. So what that means is during training, not in the field, but during training, how can we stop from injuring our force? Because you all know that they put to the extremes, right? They're always, sleep deprivation. They have to carry more weight than they'll ever have to do in their bodies and stuff like that. So, but that's where the injury comes. I treat a lot of military who have injuries from just the training that have been long lasting. They have, screwed up hips, their backs, the discs are degenerated, all that different stuff. It is nuts. So sometimes when we think about military, we think about how can we help them out. And Steve is one of those guys that has done things. Now, Steve's not from Ottawa. He's from Buffalo. That's where I met him, because that's where I was doing all my clinical work. He also is in Buffalo. He has his own gym, but he has a lot of virtual stuff now with people that just want to help. I'm also developing videos with Steve as well. We're going to be doing some of the videos because people are asking me when they're not at home, they're on the road, they're traveling, they woke up on a weekend when there's no one available, to do some videos on what can they do to rehab themselves when either they can't walk or they're having some back pain, and prevent it from getting worse. And I thought this would be a great way to use him as well as myself to use our knowledge together to help people out, and doing that where they can just pop online, do the videos and hopefully help them out in the long term, or short term, to get them better faster and not doing anything that might risk it making further complications for themselves. So that's what we've kind of been. Oh,
He's in the target zone for opportunity of
Yeah.
things happening.
I think Jen walked by and checked him and he wasn't ready for the force.
Yeah, I hope he didn't get a concussion.
No concussions, no concussions, but
No
yeah.
concussions.
But anyways, so exactly what happened. So with Steve, so I really value his knowledge from an academia point of view, from a physical training point of view, as well as just his experience over years. He just has so much to offer, and he's always teaching me new things. And I deal with these people all the time. So I have put his information there in the chat, as well as my own information going forward with that. And just really impressed with him. I want to thank Bernie for helping us out the other day. We were trying to do some videos, and Bernie's really great at helping you guys, pick out, the light, the sound, the quality, what you need to do to make it more pleasing to people, and even helping us with some of our scripts and what we're saying with things to make sure that we're reaching the public the way we want to in doing that. So I really thank Bernie. So if anyone else has those types of projects that they're doing from a video point of view, podcasting, he's a super resource for those things and doing that. Now, did anyone have any questions about what Steve offers and stuff like that, or what I offer? I'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you.
Go ahead, Mike.
Shane, great presentation. Very, very interesting, and your journey that you took to get where you are. Just imagine where you're going to be in another 5-10 years. Question for you. I think you touched what Steve was doing, helping some other individuals besides in the sports industries or whatever. What about for the elderly or the aging, say from 65 to 80 years old, need to, I see, me, I see people that in the condo here that are 90 years old and go out and work on the gardens every day and do something or what have you, and their mobility seems to be very good compared to a lot of individuals that don't and just sit back. And so does Steve help these type of people, like give a program or formulas?
Yeah. So he's written over 50 strength training books. And even if you look online, if you ever just want to know, he has all the manuals out there. And he has one, like I remember, because I used to train people with the same method, because I'm certified with the primordial strength systems. That is what he does. So I went there and got certified just because I was so impressed with the training that I did. And I was training some of my patients, which at the beginning I had a lot of older patients too, and middle-aged, and it was like middle-aged training, and I have workout 1, workout 2, workout 3. The only difference is obviously is that injury prevention part, right? I'm not there with you to say, okay, how do I adapt this exercise if it's not feeling proper with my patient? So he has a lot of older people that he treats and strength trains with. I would say he would say right now he probably trains more older people than he does lesser people. For one thing, they have an ability to get to his gym. And you should see his gym. His gym has 3 bays of equipment. And have you ever heard of Nautilus, which is a really great thing, because remember I talked about the light to heavy equipment. So you go light weight and then go heavier. Well, Nautilus was built that way, because you start out easy, and as the tension comes up, it gets harder and harder. So you have to push at the end harder, right? So it's like that light to heavy, which is really great. But he works with a lot of the older people, like I said, people that have Parkinson's, people that have degenerated joints, inflammation, cancer survivors, or people that have cancer, to get stronger as well, because we all know they start losing muscle mass and tissue. And when you start doing that, it's a problem. Fall prevention, all of that stuff. So he goes from all the way from, 12 years old, or even, I don't know how young he's actually gone, but I've seen kids come in that are pitchers and stuff like that. Because I do visit him frequently when I go to Buffalo. My wife's from Buffalo. And all the way up to the people that are elderly and using canes and doing that part, because he has the knowledge all the way through. And like I said, he has the different books from all the way from, horseback riding to middle age to elderly, all that different things. And it's all kind of broken down to workout 1, workout 2, and things like that. So, yeah.
Does he also touch on, like you said, I think you mentioned it, but does he have formulas like for if we do these types of exercises for this age group, here's a recommendation for diet or nutrition?
Diet and nutrition are tricky with people. only because everyone has certain things, especially when you get older, the diabetics and stuff like that. You can't just prescribe a one-time shot, but he has a lot of nutrition background. Like he did sports medicine and nutrition at Johns Hopkins. So he has that nutrition background doing that. I know he's tried to get in with certain companies to try and get that, but he goes every time he tries to get in with some of them, they want to put a little bit of different ingredients into it. And he's like, I don't like that type of ingredient. So he's always had a hard time of something that's really clean and doing that. And we've talked about that, but without having your own lab for developing nutrition. And there actually is a great lab that does some vitamins and stuff like that, if you're looking for it, called Statera, which is a local Ottawa company. But besides that, yes, he does have some of those recommendations, and he could be more than happy if you're interested in doing that. His main thing is to get you stronger, and he will talk about that if that's something that you're interested in on increasing and developing your nutrition after workout and things.
Yeah, got a quick question for you, Shane.
Yep.
Yeah, you had mentioned that when people or when players they want to be part of the player lineup, is that if they've had a concussion and they'll push on through just to sort of stay in the game, sort of thing. Is there a way to check that there are some damage, but they're still cognitive? Because if they get hit again, doesn't that make it worse?
Yeah. You don't want to get hit again, especially before the recovery, because the inflammation will increase double. And when that happens, you start eating away brain tissue, right? And the brain tissue eating away, when you look at CTE, Alzheimer's, and they have linked Alzheimer's now to multiple concussions, which is different than CTE, because CTE is a different protein that is found. It's a tau protein, while amyloid plaques are what you find when you look at Alzheimer's. So when you're doing that, it definitely is. They're trying to have a blood test. The problem with it is some of the factors are, is it different than having a muscle strain when you have some of the releasing of those chemicals from the cell? It's not out yet that I know of. They're still working on it. And I'm sure there's some that would say, yes, we have it, but they can't produce that in research. And your research is usually about 8 years behind, what they've actually found. So with that, you can do multiple testing, but it's really good to have a baseline from what you had beforehand, because everyone has a little bit different. Sometimes their eye will skew out to the side when you bring it a point in here where it kind of goes outwards, but there's normal variants that people have with that. Cognitive testing can be something like that, where you're testing reaction time, and eye movements, stuff like that. But nothing is definitive to say this is a diagnosis of it, like cancer, right? It's not a biopsy. There's nothing that can be definitive about it. It's a collection of data that we as clinicians make. So it's a clinical data judgment that's made in the clinic, usually to say if they have a concussion overall, and doing that. But the best we can do is some of those cognitive testing and looking to make sure that everything else is kind of within realms. Because if you do a blood test, you can look at things that get out of whack and going, you're still recovering from something, but I can't tell what it is, just because these things haven't come down to reasonable levels.
I read somewhere that if a person gets hit on the right, their left eye gets slightly dilated. Is there any? So if you look in the eyes, there's a difference in the way the dilation is.
No, because you can't tell where the brain gets hit, right? If you get hit in the front, the brain that moves around in the back, it doesn't hit the same spot. So it turns, it can rotate, it can go forward and back. So contra coup is what they call it, because it's the whiplash, how much someone does. That's why it's so important to have neck strength training done, because you resist the forces that go in there. So the more I do this versus just this, is a lot of times when you're in a car accident, is the amount of strength you have in through the neck to stop those things going forward. Now, the pupil dilation happens usually because there's some type of inflammation or pressure being put on it, and it's not contracting properly from a muscle kind of point of view. So that definitely is something to be worried about. And if it stays contracted and it doesn't respond, that's an emergency to the hospital, because you want to make sure that that's not being swelling in the brain, because swelling in the brain can stop you from breathing and stuff like that later on, and can be death related. Most of those people, though, are between about 17 years old and 21 is the bad age, which is what Rowan Stringer had, as you guys probably know, the Rowan Stringer laws about that's been implemented in high schools about prevention of concussions and making sure these people who might have this are being tailed at the school so that there's not this type of incidents happening again.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Shane.
Okay. For workouts,
Yep.
if someone is just starting to do, they're not injured, but they want to build up their muscle strength, is there a booklet that, here's the guide to, if you're using fixed weights or free weights, running, do you guys have a booklet or something like, this is how you ramp it up, here's a regime that you can kind of guide by?
Yes, there's not weight regimes with it. They usually say about sets and that. And my regime about anything is you should be able to, push on it. But when you're kind of pushing, you're able to do clean, perfect technique each time. And it's not like it's a slow push. People go to failure and it's like the last rep you really can't do. We don't do that because that means you're basically your technique because you're pushing extra muscles to actually get that done. So we don't do that. So that would be part of the thing. But there are different things like we said. There's a middle-aged one. I just gave one to female athletes that is explosive endurance from a certain age group. Then there's older people from elderly point. I forget if there's an age group on it, but it just kind of says. I think we did respectful. It's not my book; it's Steve's book. But it was respectfully, I think it was saying seniors, not some of the other words we don't want to use that people don't like to be aged. We don't use that word and that type of thing. But there's like I said, there's over 50 books, and I always ask Steve sometimes. I'm like, which book should we use for this person? He'll point me to the book that he thinks is the most relevant to it. But I know there's all different age groups, all different conditions. And that's why I was really surprised there was an equine book when I first went, like, you have an equine book on horseback riding? And he's like, yep, I have one of those too. So when people are training for certain specifics, doing that, there's a firefighting one because I was training for firefighting. So I had that as well when I was doing it. So different ones overall the map. And if you have a specific that you're kind of looking for, I can always look on, you can look up on Amazon too, Stephen Helmicki on Amazon. But I can also ask him and get back to you about the book that he thinks is most relevant for you.
Sam, you have a question?
I do. Thanks for your presentation there, Shane. When it comes to back injuries, is it true that the stomach muscles have a huge part of preventing back injuries?
It's a very interesting question. They say about core, right? For back injuries, if the core isn't holding tight and bracing, you're going to have a lot more back injuries because the muscles are supposed to take the brunt of things. By the way, the back is not a muscle you should be using to lift things. That's what your legs and hips are for. Those are hinge joints. That's what they're there for. So don't be like lifting with the back. But overall, the back has oblique muscles. You have your transverse abdominis, your multifidus, which act like a girdle. So if you ever seen those, those things back in the medieval times, they, squeeze their stomachs. It works like that to keep everything in there. People get those weak muscles in the front called diastasis recti, which is basically the splitting of your abs and stuff like that. So it is important to have strong abs to do that. It does have to be balanced because if you have too much pulling one way than the other, you're going to start having too much increase in pressure on the disc and the ligaments. So if you don't have strong muscles in the back, your ligaments and discs take on more of the brunt, and they're just there as holding elements and cushion. So they're there to take on forces from an axial point of view, so up and down rather than forward and back. So if your muscles aren't strong, you're definitely going to have a better increase in chance of incidence of injury than you would if you are stronger and more stable when you're moving. Now, a lot of people do walking with bracing because when you do that, you start loading the spine and feel better about where you're moving. Now, if you're totally under contraction all the time, you're still putting contraction onto discs, which can be a problem. So you have to have a nice in-between medium. The best exercise for that from Stu McGill point of view, which is the researcher from Waterloo University. He's really well renowned in across the world. He's on all kinds of different podcasts. He's retired now, but bird dogs, side planks, and curl-ups, which are kind of like sit-ups, but curl-ups are just basically lifting the shoulder blades off of the table, but keeping the back on it, are the three main ones that they use. Obviously, there's a progression from those, but that's a real good base when you're doing those types of exercises. And there's a lot of bracing involved. So just because you looked up a YouTube video on how to do that doesn't necessarily means it's exactly the correct one. So there's a lot of key cues to use when you're doing that. But like I said, bird dog, side planks, and curl ups, and I do like front planks. Obviously, those are a great one too.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the keeping us alert to fast twitch and the slow twitch. Usually I think of more my eye twitch than the fast twitch. Great stuff. And I'm gonna cap us off with a quote for the day. The secret of getting ahead is getting started, according to Mark Twain.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Shane.
Great.
That was very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Awesome.